Good evening. It's March 11th, 2025. It's Tuesday, and it's my pleasure and honor to be speaking with a true World War II hero, Mr. John J. Jeckovich. How are you doing today?
Great, I'm doing great.
You're looking chipper.
Yeah.
I heard you had a special visitor today.
Oh, yeah.
Who came over?
Amber.
And you had your other two great-grandsons?
She doesn't feel good. I don't know what's the matter with her.
And you had your two other great-grandsons come over yesterday?
Oh, yeah.
Children.
You had Haley and you had Brody.
Yeah, yeah.
That was very nice.
Had the old folks from home.
Haley just texted me. She says you talk too much.
Who said that?
Haley, because remember we tried to interview her, and she said I didn't let her have a chance to speak.
Her?
Yeah.
She said that?
Yeah, she's kidding. She said
I talk too much?
me.
Oh.
She didn't, I asked her a question, and she said, and I thought she choked, and so I just kept reading. And she said, you talk too much. Well, anyways, we're reading Mr. Jeckovich's book titled Their Mother's Sons, and we went through it already. How many pages is that book?
849.
So now we're in second chapter, and the second chapter is titled Books, Girls, and Police. And this book here is a very interesting book, because Mr. Jeckovich was born and raised in Niagara Falls, New York.
The dope now.
Yeah, I heard it went down since you were there.
Yeah.
When Mr. Jeckovich first moved to 3063 Orleans Avenue, where he spent almost the entire part of his life, there was only a few houses on the street. It was nuts.
Oh, that was all open field.
They had a
You could
nice
see the stadium.
Jill Creek, and there wasn't many houses there. So you're in the city, I guess, but it felt like you're in the country. And some of the things you were able to do then, tell us how you made ice skating rinks.
Ice skating, open a fire hydrant to freeze it up, put the water on the street, and it will freeze up. That's an ice skating rink.
That's great. You couldn't do that today.
No, you can't do that today,
Where'd
no.
you get the water from?
What fire hydrant?
I'll be damned. Who had the tool to open a fire hydrant?
I found a big wrench.
Very creative guys. Very creative guys.
Yeah, those are good old days, though.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, it is. So Mr. Jeckovich lived in Niagara Falls, New York all his life. And the only time he was really away from home was during World War II. Mr. Jeckovich was from Company H, the 2nd Battalion of the 291st Regiment of the 75th Infantry Division of the U.S. Army during World War II. Mr. Jeckovich believes the motto is, yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, and today is a gift. That's what he believes, and that's what he lives by. So I'll read just a couple pages of your book, then we'll get to some of your questions, text questions for you, all right?
Okay.
Before I read the book, I have to open up the laptop, and I need the passcode.
420965.
Okay, that's Mr. Jeckovich's dog tag number. So we're on page 20, Books, Girls, and Police. The book's titled Their Mother's Sons. Uncle Andy would show me about his home and some of his handiwork. The cement block garage he had built, the remodeled kitchen, or his basement workshop were some of the many items he was involved in. I would tell him how impressed I was with what he had shown me, and I wished I could do some of the things he was capable of. So later, as life went on, you were able to do all those things.
Yeah.
Yeah. He would only smile and state that anyone had the ability to do what he had done. The modesty and gentleness of the man overwhelmed me. I then realized that for the first time, he was a person I could relate to and respect.
Now, who are you talking about?
Uncle Andy.
Oh, Uncle Andy. Yeah. Yeah,
He was very talented, wasn't he?
yeah.
Yeah. I worked and learned much from my Uncle Andy until I left for the service, and I never returned to work with him again. He passed away shortly after I got out of the service. He was presented to me, Uncle Andy, my mother's brother, both of equal temperament and background, yet they were so completely opposite. Granted, they both had terrible tempers, but they utilized in different directions. I had never seen my uncle display a temper tantrum like my mother was capable of. She would rant and rave, and there'd be no point to what she was upset about. On the other hand, when my uncle became irritated, he would quickly get it under control and leave it, or try to explain his actions for it. I wish my mother had a little more like my Uncle Andy. I could recall Uncle Andy sitting on the grass along the bank of the little creek that ran through the extreme end of the city. Do you still remember him sitting there?
Yeah.
What
I
did
should
it
have
look
gone
like?
over there.
What did it look like? What was he doing?
He was sitting there with his hands on his knees.
He would just sit there by himself, looking around.
And he passed away 2 or 3 weeks ago after that.
Wow. He would just sit there by himself, looking around, as if he were waiting for someone to talk to him, or to acknowledge his presence there. I would see him sitting there, and although I wanted to go and sit beside him, something always compelled me not to. It was not as if my parents were still feuding with him and not talking. They had gotten over that a while back, and frankly they were almost friendly to both Uncle Andy and Aunt Sophie. I think it was mostly my not going back to work at Croysdale and not working again with my uncle.
Yeah, that was it, yeah.
He resented my not coming back, but would not say anything directly to me about it. I felt bad in not returning, but I decided when I was still in the service that I would not return. Instead, I would try to better myself and seek some type of a schooling, be in college, or some other avenue. As it turned out, it was not too successful in either approach. Ironically, I settled into a line of work, not to my liking, in which I was in day-to-day contact with my uncle's brother, John. But I never attained the rapport that I enjoyed with Uncle Andy. Police headquarters just called and advised, "Your husband dropped dead of a heart attack. He is at St. Mary's Hospital." That was a communication my mother received while at work, approximately 9:12 p.m. on October 9th, 1943. It was written on the back of a purchase order slip my mother used in her work at the plant. An hour earlier, I had received a different type of notification relative to my father. As I had worked later than usual with my uncle at the carbon plant, I did not arrive home in time to accompany my father that evening, as it was customary for me to do. I had been at home for only a short while when there was a knock on the front door. As I opened the door, there was a uniformed policeman standing there. He asked me if I knew Marion Jeckovich. I stated that I did, as he was my father. He then informed me that my father had an accident and had been taken to the emergency room at the hospital. He then asked if I would accompany him there. I immediately told my sister to accept all incoming calls, especially from my mother. Both of my brothers were not home. I then went with the policeman to the hospital. When I arrived at the hospital, I was directed to what I believe would have been the emergency room. Instead, I was ushered into the downstairs room. As I entered a large room, I noticed the floor was covered with red quarry tile, and the walls were also tiled from floor to ceiling in a greenish hue. From the ceiling there was a huge, large diameter arc lights that illuminated the entire room, as well as 5 or 6 marble-type benches dispersed throughout the room. One wall of the room was completely covered with glass clipboards and compartments. One of the attendants motioned over to me to the motionless, outstretched figure on one of the marble tables. On the nearest table was what appeared to be another figure, covered in its entirety with a white sheet. As I approached the table, I recognized my father laying there. He had a grayish, ashen look to his face. The arms were at his sides, and I could see some of the dried cement on both of his hands. Both knees of his work pants were still damp from kneeling in the wet cement. His shoes were on his feet, were laden with blotches of cement stain. His eyes were closed, and a wisp of his black hair was draped over one side of his forehead. He was fully clothed just as he left for work several hours earlier. I asked the attending physician what was wrong with my father, and I saw no physical damage. He uttered in a matter-of-fact tone that my father had a massive heart attack and was dead. I did not react immediately to the shocking statement. Several minutes later, the attending physician asked me if I'd like to verify the person that was actually my father. I stated that it was, and he asked me to go through my father's pants pockets and retrieve all of his belongings. I commenced to go through my father's pockets. As I was awkwardly proceeding with the test, I noticed how lifeless and stiff his body felt. It was difficult to reach the depths of his pants pockets. The attendant turned my father over to each side so I might retrieve anything in his back pockets. What I had taken from the pockets of my father were set on a small table at the end of a marble slab on which he was lying. It consisted of a red tin Prince Albert tobacco, an orange booklet of cigarette papers, a half dozen stick matches you like right off the cement?
Yeah.
Okay. Was that pretty popular then?
Oh, yeah.
A crumpled piece of brown paper, presumably from a shopping bag, with an address on it. So that was the address he wrote for his job that day, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. A wooden pencil with a lead tip broken off, and 25 cents in loose change. The attendant asked me to sign a property sheet, acknowledge these were actual possessions belonging to my father. I also signed another stating that I witnessed and verified the body was my father, and then I gave his full name, and I did not know his social security number. After the formalities were over with, I was escorted to a waiting room, and I was told someone would drive me back home. After several minutes had passed, a uniformed policeman came up to me and said that he would drive me home. During the drive back home, which did not take long, the only remark the policeman made was, "That's the best way to go." As I got out of the police car in front of the house, I thanked the officer for the ride and walked towards the house. I could hear my mother crying and sobbing something incoherently as I walked into the house. My sister was also crying. There were neighbors coming to our house to console or comfort my mother. There were no neighbors coming to our house to console or comfort my mother, nor were there any relations prior to the funeral. My mother had made funeral arrangements, and my brother, Steve, was notified at school. I do not recall if Lucky was in the service or if he was home at the time of my father's death. I do recall that he was persistent with my mother about giving her a written consent for him to join the Coast Guard, as he was underage to enlist. Several days after the funeral for my father, return home. He would not be home again. This is Lookie. He would not be home again to Thanksgiving or Christmas recess. As I stated earlier, I do not recall my younger brother being around at the house at this time. I still had my job at Croisdale's. Mother still worked at the same plant. That was Carbrundum, right?
Yeah.
Steve was back in school, and Lookie was still belligerent and withdrawn. Life did not seem different, with the exception that Mother now slept regularly in her own bedroom. I contributed half of my week paycheck towards the expenses of the household. I did this voluntarily, with no misgivings or animosity. I did not know what Lookie contributed, if any. My mother began to talk about my father in rather glowing terms, as if they were the best relationship when he was alive. She would state how good he was to us and that he always had our best interest at heart. Okay, you want to read some questions?
Okay.
How many minutes we got there?
Okay. 13.
What was your reaction, Mr. Jeckovich, to the war's end?
Happy.
Happy, yeah.
Relieved.
Yeah. How old were you when you enlisted or got drafted?
19.
Uh-huh. Where'd you go for basic training?
Oldville, Kentucky.
Mr. Jeckovich, where were you born and raised?
Niagara Falls, New York.
3063 Orleans Avenue.
Right. That's a hellhole now, boy.
It was nice when you lived there.
Huh?
It was nice.
Yeah.
Now, what's it like now?
Well, we went by there, we see movies the other day. It's deteriorated. It's a slum.
I wonder how your house looks.
Huh?
I wonder how your house
I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it.
That's that bad, huh? What was your initial impressions of military life?
What was that?
What was your initial impressions of military life?
Attraction?
What was your initial impressions of military life?
Well, it was different. It was regular. You know what you're going to do every day.
What was your role in the military? Combat, infantry, medic, pilot, etc.
Combat infantryman.
Combat infantry. Yeah.
Oh, we were in heavy weapons.
Heavy weapons.
Had a 30 caliber machine gun, water cooled.
Yeah. Mr. Jeckovich, do you believe the lessons of World War II are still relevant today?
Oh yeah, they never learned anything, no.
What is the most important thing you want people to remember about your generation?
My generation?
Yeah.
Well, I got a good book on it. I got that book, 848 pages out of that book. It tells you.
Yeah, their mother's sons. That tells the story, right?
Yeah.
What do you remember about D-Day?
D-Day?
Yeah.
I was skating on the creek Sunday afternoon.
Uh-huh. And your mother came over?
No, she didn't come over, no.
No. But she said, I think
I came in for supper, or for lunch.
Yeah.
And she said, I think you'll be moving out.
So she was worried.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. What branch of the military did you serve in?
Army.
Army. Did you face any challenges in readjusting to civilian life?
I was, when I was still in the military, I was thinking, how am I going to adjust at home?
Was it hard to adjust?
Yeah. I know my mother's going to grab me for 15,000 things.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's something. That's a wonderful thing, too. what was your first job?
Just under 10.
Well, my first job,
Yeah.
let's see, paper route.
And what type of paper route was it?
Gene Klasinski,
And what type of paper route is that?
Polish paper,
And how many did you have when you were out?
150 papers
Wow, were you all nice customers?
on my Black Knight
Oh, I love it.
bicycle.
I love to see that Schwinn Black Knight. That's really a collector's army now.
Yeah.
A collector's piece. Were all the customers nice?
Oh, yeah.
They all speak Polish?
Yeah, so I happened to want to pay, though.
They didn't want to pay. Why?
Oh, they said, well, we pay you. You know, they're trying to get out of it.
Uh-huh. And did they, must have made beautiful Polish dinners. Did they invite you in for dinner?
No.
They had made Polish foods though, right?
Yeah, I went in there, I had to take a deep breath.
Why?
Well, it smelled terrible in there. I mean, there was a cooker. There was a cooker they were doing that.
Oh, okay. Okay. Did most of your customers only speak Polish?
No, they were speaking broken English.
Broken English, yeah. And what did your father say about speaking a foreign language at home?
He said, we don't speak a foreign language, so you're in America, you speak American.
Did some of your neighbors have a deep accent, Polish accent?
Yeah, Belinsky next door had it, yeah.
Oh yeah, how did his accent sound?
Talked like a Polak.
Like how would say? Give me an example.
Well, he would, they talked at home in Polish.
Oh yeah, but what was his accent like? If you give an example of how he sounded.
Did
Did you have a hard time understanding him?
No, he just pissed you off. That's all. Something like that.
He ended up being your neighbor, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah, next door.
Yeah. He ended up being your neighbor, and on top of that, you worked with him.
No, he worked in the other department. I didn't see him.
He worked for the same company.
Yeah, he worked in the same company, yeah.
Wow. Boy, that's something. Didn't he play the accordion or something?
Who did?
Belinsky?
No, his one kid, his older kid played accordion or a flute or something he played.
Okay.
And the young kid played violin.
I see. Did you ever go to a live concert?
Live concert?
Yeah.
Yeah, at Hyde Park
Okay.
Stadium, yeah.
Do you prefer baths or showers?
Now what?
Do you prefer baths or showers?
Where?
In your whole life, do you prefer taking a bath or taking a shower?
Well, we used to take baths at home and never had a shower.
Oh yeah?
Fill the bathtub up and take a sit in there for a while.
I'll be damned. Do you have a Swiss Army knife?
Do I have a Swiss Army knife? I had one, a silver one, beautiful one. I don't know what happened to it.
You have no idea.
I have no idea what happened to it.
Wow. Do you have any phobias?
Anyone?
Phobias.
Phobias?
Yeah.
No.
What is your earliest memory of your childhood in Niagara Falls, New York?
Well, helping my father. I was a linchpin there. I did all the hard work. Stevie didn't do nothing. Looky couldn't do nothing.
Nothing. When you lived at 3063 Orleans Avenue, did you ever raise your own chickens for fresh eggs there?
Do what?
When you lived at 3063 Orleans Avenue, did you ever raise chickens for fresh eggs?
No.
Did a lot of neighbors raise chickens?
And across the alley she did, yeah.
And did you ever go get their eggs?
No, I didn't get it. No. She had a scarf on her head all the time.
What kind of lady was that?
Old lady, yeah.
Wow. Have you ever felt discriminated against?
What?
Have you ever felt discriminated against?
Discriminated against?
Have you been felt discriminated against?
No.
Okay. Where were your ancestors from?
My mother was from Poland, my father was from Russia.
Okay. But they met in the United States, right?
Oh yeah, they didn't know each other until they came over here.
Because you came from Niagara Falls, and many people watched the tightrope artists cross the falls, and many kids attempted to do that. Did you ever try to tightrope?
No, never thought of it. Never thought of it.
Never had an idea. What was your favorite ice cream growing up?
Vanilla.
Have you ever really scared yourself?
And then what?
Have you scared yourself?
Did I scare myself?
Yeah, when you were a kid.
No.
Tell us about when you're an usher at the movie theaters and the kids would get scared of what? The movie?
Yeah.
And that happened every Saturday.
And they pissed on the floor.
Wow. So you were watching the same movie. Weren't you scared?
No, I wasn't scared. No.
But
the kids were sitting right on top of the screen.
Wow.
And prepared us to get down there with a map and clean that up. It smells like it smells way up here.
That's something. That's something. Do you have a green thumb?
Have I have a green thumb?
Yeah.
To a point.
Uh-huh. How do you personally feel about gambling of any kind?
I never thought of it. Never thought of it.
3 minutes.
3?
3.5.
Have you ever made your own pancakes in Niagara Falls, New York?
Oh, yeah.
You did?
Made pancakes all the time at the camping. We had that stove and everything.
Have you ever sailed a boat?
Sailed the boat?
Yeah.
No.
As a kid in Niagara Falls, New York, did you ever go bobbing for apples?
Bobbing? No.
No.
That's Halloween stuff.
Yeah. You never went bobbing for apples?
No.
What's your favorite month of the year?
Month of the year?
What's your favorite month?
February.
February.
That's when I got married.
Beautiful. And how long were you married for?
69 years.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. That's truly beautiful. In Niagara Falls, New York, they have many months of winter. Did you ever go sledding?
Oh, yeah, down the creek, yeah.
Where'd
And
you
then we went to Chestnut Ridge sledding.
How
So
about
I
tobogganing?
slid down on a piece of cardboard and everything else.
How about tobogganing?
Tobogganing, we went tobogganing too.
When you lived in Niagara Falls, New York, you spoke a lot about the Hyde Park golf course. Did you ever play golf?
No.
Did you ever lawn bowl?
No.
Did you ever play basketball?
No.
Did you ever play baseball?
Baseball, not on a team or nothing. No, we just played at home.
Did you ever play football?
At home, yeah.
How old were you when the last time you went trick-or-treating?
Trick or treating?
How old was the last time?
Probably 15.
I see. Wow. Do you still think libraries are useful?
Oh, yeah. I used to go to the library about twice a week.
How'd you get to the library as a kid?
Well, when I had a car, I drove there.
Okay. Minutes, please.
The one library I went to was the small one on 27th Street, real small, old-fashioned library.
1 minute.
How many?
1.
Do you prefer living in a city or a country?
I would prefer living in the country, but the country's bad now because if you get isolated, you read at somebody's wits.
Okay. Okay. So would you ever consider, what's that?
30 seconds.
Would you ever consider moving back to Niagara Falls, New York?
No.
No way?
Well, we've seen it on the film. It's terrible.
Like,
It's dope.
give me an example of what you've seen
What did I see?
on the film.
It was a hellhole.
A lot of vacancies, and
Yeah. All blacks and everything.
it wasn't nice.
No.
Minutes?
5 seconds.
Wow. But when you grew up there, it was nice.